Adam invests £3,000 for 3 years at 10% per annum. Compound interest. That's the important word there, compound interest. So this is a compound interest question. Calculate the value of the investment at the end of the 3 years. Now, before we go into this question, I want to do a detailed explanation. First of all, you have to understand the difference between compound and simple interest. I'm going to first explain what simple interest is. So we're first going to go through simple interest. So because Adam invested £3,000 and we want to find 10%. So to find 10%, we have to multiply by 0.1. So on your calculator, if you did 3,000 times 0.1, you get the answer £300. So at the end of year 1, Adam would have a profit of £300. And because it's simple interest, at the end of the second year, he will earn another 10% on his £3,000. So that will be another £300 interest gained. That's profit. And then at the end of the third year, he will have another 10% of his original £3,000, which will earn him another £300. So at the end of the 3 years, his total amount in his bank will be £3,900, because £3,000 is what he initially invested, £300 is his profit at the end of the first year, then he made another £300 at the end of the second year, and then he made another £300 at the end of the third year. And when you add them all up, you get £3,900. And that's how simple interest works. So even if you left it there for 100 years, it will be just be 100 lots of £300 profit that he makes each year, and that will be his profit. So let's keep it simple. Let's say 10 years. So in 10 years time, he'll have 10 lots of 300, so that's another 3,000. So altogether in 10 years, he'll have £6,000. But this doesn't really happen when you invest money in the bank, because it's not fair, because in your bank account you still have that £300, and that money the bank's using and not giving you any profit. That is not fair. So this is why most banks will offer you a compound interest, where this £300 gets added to the original £3,000 and you'd be given 10% profit on that. So with compound interest, what's most likely to happen is that, like before, on the first year you'll invest your £3,000, which we times by 0.1, because that's 10%, and you get £300 profit. So at the end of the first year, you have your 3,000 plus the 300, which is 3,300. So that's the amount of money you'll have in your bank account, £3,300. Now this same amount will be your starting of the second year. So in the second year, you start off with 3,300, and 10% of that is £330, not 300 like that. Okay, so 10% of £3,300 is £330. So you started the year off with 3,300, you add the 330, so that means at the end of the second year you have a profit of £3,630. Now this money is in your bank, and will be what you start off in the third year. So in the third year, you start off with the 3,630, and 10% of that is £363. So that means at the end of the third year, you have the 3,630 that you started off with, plus an additional 363, which is a profit. So altogether, you have £3,993. So because of compound interest, you got £3,993. Now with simple interest, you would have only had £3,900, which is unfair, because the bank's been using your money. It's been sitting in your account. You didn't take that money. Compound interest is more fair. So you get an additional £93 because of compound interest. but this is a lot of working out. It's very tedious. There must be a faster way of working out compound interest. So this is the example of compound interest, and luckily there is a faster way. Now you might remember from your basic percentages that, say for example, I want to write 90% as a decimal. I just do 90 divided by 100 and the answer will be 0.90. We don't really need the 0 there, but just for illustration. Or 80%, if I divide that by 100, I'll get 0.8, and for illustration 0.80, but we don't need the 0. Or 85%, 85% would be 0.85. Now in our specific example, £3,000 was our original amount, so this would represent 100% if I'm using this bar model. Okay, so the £3,000 is 100%. But if I'm going to increase it by 10%, it means I'm going to add another 10%. So now that means altogether I have 110%. Now if I do 110 divided by 100, I would get 1.10, which we can just write as 1.1. And this is the decimal multiplier. So if I want to increase anything by 10%, I just have to times it by 1.1. So for example, if I want to increase £90 by 10%, I do 90 times 1.1. Or if I want to increase £80 by 10%, I do 80 times 1.1. So a faster way to do this would be to use this knowledge and say that at the end of the first year is 3,000 times 1.10 is given as a profit, and the total amount of £3,300. So this is how much you will have in your bank account at the end of the first year. So then we're going to times that number by 1.1 to get our profit for the second year. So 3,300 times 1.1 is 3,630, and then we're going to times that number by 1.1 again, and that will tell us that the profit or the total amount in the bank is 3,993. Now that's a lot quicker than doing it the other way. So just for illustration, I've put them side by side. Now can you see, using the decimal multiplier method in blue here is much quicker than using the other method in red here, which is much longer. Now it just happens to be that there is actually an even faster way of doing this, and to show you this I wanted to use the calculator. So on my calculator, first we will type in the original amount that we invested, which was £3,000 at the beginning of the year. Now because it's going to increase by 10%, I times it by 1.1. So look, just like there, £3,300, I've got £3,300 on my screen. So I times that by 1.1, and that will be same as what I've got here. I've got a total amount of £3,630 in my account. And remember, this is the start balance of the next year. So I have to times that by 1.1, and this will give me my amount at the end of the third year, which is the same. But look at what I've got on my screen. What I've done is I've done 3,000 times 1.1 for the first year, times another 1.1 for the second year, times another 1.1 for the third year. Remember, these 1.1s are because it's a 10% increase. If it was a 20% increase, we would have done times by 1.2, times by 1.2, times by 1.2, and so forth. So I could have just done this on the calculator and I could have just got the answer of 3,993. So this is so far the quickest one out of the lot. Just do 3,000 times 1.1 for the first year, times another 1.1 for the second year, times another 1.1 for the third year, and you get the answer of 3,993. So I've just tidied up a little bit. So remember, the £3,000 was what we invested at the beginning of the year. So we times by 1.1 because we increased it by 10% for the first year. Then because we increased it by another 10% the second year, we times by another 1.1, and then we times by another 1.1 for the 10% increase of the third year. So in total, at the end of the 3 years in our bank, we will have £3,993 because of the 10% compound interest over the 3 years. But luckily there's a much quicker way of doing this. So on your calculator you type in 3,000 times 1.1 because 10% increase. If it was 20% increase it would be 1.2, 30% would be 1.3 and so forth. And then on most calculators you should have a function that looks like this. It's an x with a square. So we're going to press that button, and because it's 3 years, remember it was 3 years, so we're going to do that. So it was year 1, year 2, year 3, and because of that we have the 3 there. 3. If it was 5 years it'd be a 5 there. And as you can see the answer is 3,993. So really what you could do is you could do 3,000 times 1.1, which is your interest rate of 10%. So a 10% increase is times by 1.1, and then because it was for 3 years is to the power of 3, and that gives you your answer of £3,993. Should put the units in.